It's 6 p.m. on a Wednesday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Choi. Let us begin with the headlines. South Korea's defense chief meets with residents of Seongju who are upset over plans to put the THAAD missile defense system in their backyard. He apologized for how the decision was made and explained the rationale for the choice. Korea swelters under the highest average temperatures the country has ever recorded, accompanied by a record number of heat-related deaths. After recent disappointments for Team Korea at the Olympics in Rio, the national team and the nation pins its hopes on Taekwondo and women's golf to end the games on a high note. Another high-profile defection from the Hermit Kingdom. That's our starting point today. A diplomat at the North Korean embassy in London has reportedly fled to a third country with his family. If confirmed, the defection would be another major embarrassment for Pyongyang, especially since the official's main duties involved promoting an unrealistically positive image of the regime. Connie Kim has our top story.
Tae Yong-ho, the second highest official at the North Korean embassy in the UK, has been identified as a North Korean diplomat seeking asylum in a third country. The BBC reported Tuesday that Tae has not been seen in public or at his home in West London for a few weeks now. Tae had lived in the UK for 10 years with his family and was in charge of promoting North Korea's image to the British people. His defection comes as a surprise as he had been a fervent supporter of Pyongyang's policies and defended wrong media reports about the regime. He is known to have argued in a speech that the British people had been brainwashed and would even have second thoughts about North Korea if they knew about Pyongyang's free education, housing, and medical care. BBC's Pyongyang correspondent Stephen Evans said the missing North Korean diplomat was expected to return to the north this summer after finishing his term in office. Citing a North Korea expert, the BBC reports the official's defection, if confirmed, would represent a highly embarrassing situation for Pyongyang. Seoul's Unification Ministry says it cannot confirm the diplomat's defection as of now, but acknowledged that North Korean staff and officials working in overseas diplomatic missions are exposed to completely different living standards, principles, and ideologies.
There are many opportunities for them to monitor media reports as they live abroad. It is the perfect backdrop for them to learn more about diverse situations outside North Korea.
Tae's defection is the latest of previous similar cases of North Korean diplomats defecting to third countries. To name a few, Ko Young-hwan was the first diplomat to defect from the North Korean embassy in Congo in 1991. And North Korean diplomat Hyun Sung-il fled from the North Korean mission in Zambia in 1996. But recently, Seoul says the number of North Korean defectors from all walks of life and occupations has been on the rise, partly due to the strong international sanctions imposed on the regime due to its continued nuclear provocations. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
South Korea's defense minister visited Seongju on Wednesday, where THAAD is to be installed. He was there to talk with locals and alleviate the concerns of residents who don't want the missile defense system in their backyard. For details, let's turn to our Kwon So-hwa.
Wednesday's visit was the second by South Korean Defense Chief Han Min-gu to Seongju County since the deployment of the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System was announced in July. His mission was to listen to and answer the concerns of local residents who are upset about the government's unilateral decision and are worried about potential health and environmental risks posed by radiation from the site. Before the closed-door meeting, Minister Han offered an apology.
I once again want to apologize that the Defense Ministry did not provide a sufficient explanation to the residents of Seongju and was not active enough in seeking your understanding.
The minister once again explained the necessity of the system and why Seongju is the best location for it. The county is located some 300 kilometers southeast of Seoul and, according to the ministry, was chosen on the basis of which location can militarily defend South Korea most broadly.
In the face of North Korea's serious and growing nuclear and missile threats, the decision to deploy THAAD was the least measure that could be taken to protect the South Korean people.
He added that what's clear is that if North Korea would get rid of its weapons, there would be no need for THAAD. He asked the residents to understand his urgency in working to keep the country safe as defense chief. One of the Seongju County representatives who attended Wednesday's meeting told other residents that there was mention of an alternate location. It's not yet known where that is, but the Defense Ministry said it would look into it if that is the position of the locals. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Just when Korea's ruling and opposition parties seem to be on the same page on a government-proposed budget supplement, deliberation at today's extraordinary session came to a complete standstill. Kim Young-gil updates us on the rapid changes at the National Assembly.
Deliberations on the government's proposed budget supplement came to a standstill on Wednesday, when the chair of the Special Committee on Budget and Accounts refused to carry on with the review process. The ruling Saenuri Party said it regrets the chair's decision. The opposition parties are saying that since they agreed with the Saenuri Party to vote on the budget bill on August 22nd, the ruling party should cooperate on selecting witnesses for hearings next week on what caused the financial troubles in the shipbuilding and shipping industries. The ruling party says the budget review should come first. The opposition parties want to summon key government officials and business executives who are accused of deciding to pump billions in taxpayer money into the financially troubled Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, even though the shipbuilder was facing allegations of accounting fraud.
The Saenuri Party should not misuse the Minju Party's good intentions to pass the budget bill. If they're thinking about conducting the hearings in a hasty manner, then we will quash the budget agreement.
Are they trying to gloss over this as if nothing happened when the government squandered an enormous amount of taxpayer money? Since the ruling Saenuri Party does not have any plans to summon key witnesses, all I can say is that the party is not taking this seriously.
The government has come under fire for deciding to provide Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering with $3.8 billion in support after a controversial closed-door meeting that took place last October at the presidential office of Cheongwade. The key decisions were allegedly made by then Finance Minister Choi Kyung-wan, the former senior presidential secretary for economic affairs An Jong-bum, and current Financial Services Commission chief Im Jong-ryong, who together demanded the participation of Hong Gi-taek, the former chairman of the state-run Korea Development Bank, who ultimately cleared the payments. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
At the nation's top office, President Park Geun-hye sat down with the heads of local governments over lunch. She encouraged greater cooperation and collaboration between the central and provincial governments, saying if the two join forces, they can accomplish anything, again highlighting Koreans' can-do spirit, as she did in her Liberation Day address on Monday. Today's gathering was aimed at boosting creative tourism to aid local economies, and the regional government heads shared their ideas on how to develop their regions by promoting targeted programs based on the characteristics of the places and creativity of the people in their regions. This is the second meeting of its kind this year. In February, President Park used the occasion to call for national unity against North Korean threats, saying all regions share a common destiny. The prospects for positive growth in Korea's export market are fading as the global economy has yet to pick up steam, and that includes China, Korea's largest trading partner. Seoul may need to review its strategy. Kim Min-ji turns to some experts for their analysis.
Korea's exports have fallen every month for over a year and a half now, and there had been hopes of a recovery in the second half of the year. But with the slow growth in the global economy, especially China, the prospects for a turnaround are dimming.
China accounts for about a quarter of Korea's exports, which is an important factor determining whether Korea's outbound shipments can improve. Exports to China have fallen sharply, so it depends on how much it can pick up.
According to the Korea International Trade Association, Korea's exports to China came to $10.1 billion in July, down 9.4% from a year ago. That extends the country's downward streak for a record 13 straight months. However, in a glint of light, the pace of decline did slow from the previous month. Imports shrank over 8% to just over $7 billion during the same period, resulting in a trade surplus of about $3.1 billion. Exports of key items such as semiconductors and flat panel displays led the decline in outbound shipments. Semiconductors, Korea's #1 export item to China, fell over 14% from the same period last year, while display panels fell more than 19%. But petroleum products spiked 35%, while auto parts also jumped nearly 13%.
Until now, growth has been centered around the exports of intermediary goods, but Korea now needs to focus on consumer goods and ramp up investment in areas it is good at, such as food products, cosmetics, and cultural content, and open new markets.
Another option for Korea is to diversify its export partners and reduce its dependence on China. One country where analysts see potential is Vietnam, which has risen as Korea's third-largest export partner thanks to a free trade deal that took effect last year, and as it is a production base for many companies. However, experts say that at the end of the day, for a tangible recovery, it's all down to how soon the global economy picks up steam, which will in turn drive up the demand for exports. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
The scorching hot conditions continue here in Korea. It's now official. Seoul has seen its hottest month on record. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, the average temperature in the capital from the start to middle of the month was 29.7 degrees Celsius. That's the highest since Korea began keeping related records back in 1907. 16 people nationwide died from heat-related illnesses. That number, too, is the highest since Korea started tracking such data in 2011. Korea's CDC reports the deaths were caused by heat stroke, heat edema, or heat cramps. Jeollanam-do and Gyeongsangbuk-do provinces had the highest numbers. Authorities advise people to stay hydrated and stay indoors as much as possible. The deadly heat wave is expected to last at least until the end of this week. Over in the United States, unprecedented flooding killed at least 11 people and damaged some 40,000 homes in the state of Louisiana. Lee Min-young has this report.
Search and rescue work is continuing in earnest after days of torrential rain that broke records and caused historic flooding in the U.S. More than 20 inches of rain poured down on parts of Louisiana over the weekend, prompting President Barack Obama to declare a major disaster in the state, and forecasters say that more is yet to come.
I had this much before it got on my carport. 30 minutes later, it was coming across. 30 minutes after that, it's in my house.
I've been living in this area since the mid-'80s, and I've never, ever seen a water like this. It's just unreal.
Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards told reporters during a Tuesday afternoon news conference that the deadly flooding has devastated at least 40,000 homes, and a reported 60,000 people have signed up for disaster assistance. The state imposed curfews on Tuesday night in more than a dozen cities and parishes that were severely damaged by the flooding, and another 8 parishes were added to the state's federal disaster zone, pushing the number up to 20. More than 30,000 people have been rescued across the state.
I want everyone to understand that we are still very much in an emergency search and rescue response mode for much of the Florida parishes. Saving life is the most important priority that we have. We're going to dedicate every available resource to that effort until it's no longer required.
The rain-swollen rivers are receding, but authorities say the state is not out of danger yet. National forecasters say water levels in some communities in southern Louisiana could peak later in the week. Lee Min-young, Arirang News.
Day 11 was arguably the most disappointing one in Rio for Team South Korea. The women's volleyball squad came up short in the Elite 8 stages, while a strong medal contender in wrestling narrowly missed out on a podium finish. For the results and the highlights, here's our Yoon-shin.
Monday's disappointments continued for Team Korea as the nation had another medalist day on Tuesday. The women's volleyball team got swept aside quite easily by the Netherlands, 3-1 in the round of 8. The Dutch team quickly took a 2-0 lead, but Team Korea's star player Kim Yeon-kyung stepped up her game in the third set, bringing the match back to 2-1. But a comeback never looked to be on the cards as the Netherlands cantered home in the fourth set
as the Korean players struggled to block the rapid-fire attacks. In the 66-kilo category of men's Greco-Roman wrestling, Ryu An-soo lost to his opponent from Azerbaijan 4-0 in the bronze medal match. Despite owning the quarterfinals earlier in the day against an Egyptian wrestler, Ryu, the 2013 world champion, finished his journey in Rio without a medal. But with all the recent defeats, Korea still hopes to collect a few more medals. With 4 of the top 10 female golfers in the world, expectations are high Team Korea will perform well when the women tee off on Wednesday morning local time. In the rest of the action on day 11, America's Golden Girl Simone Biles became the first female gymnast since 1968 to win 4 gold medals at a single Olympics. She secured her latest gold in the floor event, scoring almost half a point more than her teammate Alexandra Reisman, who got the silver. Biles, still just 19 years old, proved her dominance despite some doubts from Monday's slip that saw her place 3rd in the beam. Another widely expected win came when Usain Bolt cruised through the heats in the 200 meters. The Jamaican sprint legend made it look like a walk in the park, strolling home in a time of 20.28 seconds to go into the semis with the fastest time. There are just 4 days left until the closing ceremony on Sunday. But considering a few events haven't even started yet, there are bound to be a few more shocks and surprises to come. 이은신, Arirang News.
And hope springs eternal for Team South Korea as we are expected to set the standard in Taekwondo, the sporting event based on the country's traditional martial arts. It doesn't hurt that 2 former world champs are donning the taeguk patch in Rio. Kim Tae-hoon in the men's 58-kilogram class and Kim So-hee for the women's 49. The first round of men's and women's matches start on Wednesday. That's a wrap for us. Thank you for watching.